Don't get stuck on yourself. You could be wrong, you know. People have a tendency to, once they make a decision about something, or once they decide to go a certain path, they go against everything. Anything anybody says, any other ruling they may come across, they shun advice. I made the decision. I'm going to do it anyway. Don't get stuck on yourself. You could be wrong, you know. Now, here's a surefire way to tell if you're wrong. If you don't see any movement in the direction you've chosen, if you feel as though you're in a rut, if the wall you're climbing seems so insurmountable that you ain't even moving an inch, and every time you turn around, you keep getting knocked back down. Don't get stuck on yourself. You know, you could be wrong, you know. That's why it's important for people to always be open to the reinvention of yourself. You cannot be afraid to reinvent yourself. In other words, you can't be afraid to change. Change is necessary when it comes to growth. There is no growth without change. If you're climbing and you're making no headway, could it be the wrong direction? Could you have possibly made the wrong choice? Don't get stuck on yourself. It's okay to forgive yourself. It's okay to let yourself off the hook. It's even smarter sometimes to admit that you were wrong. You ever met somebody ain't ever wrong? Have you ever met somebody you talk to, they ain't ever wrong about nothing, man? It's they way or the highway. I know people like that, stuck on them power trips and all like that. You know what I had to learn how to do? I had to learn how to let them go on them power trips. But listen to this, though. You're not taking me on that trip, though. You're going on that trip by yourself. I'm going in the right direction. I decided to stop doing business the way I was doing business. I decided to stop to allow business being done around me the way business was being done around me. You know, the best decision I made was to allow for God to have some say-so and to offer me his direction. I have found him to be a better driver than anyone else I know. I have found him to know more about the man he made than anybody else who's merely associated. I have found it to be a fact that my maker knows more about the vehicle he created than does anybody else. If your Chevy break, don't you take it to Chevy? You don't take your Ford when it break down to a Toyota dealership. They not gonna know everything that the Ford dealership would know about the vehicle. You know why? Because they're not the maker of it. So now, why are you letting your life being led, controlled, and guided by somebody other than your maker? I'm just asking you to let's all take a common sense look at this. I want you to clearly understand I ain't none of this without him. I wish I could have the guts to reach back there and pat myself on the back for what I've accomplished in my life, because I know for a fact that there is no way that I could have manufactured the life that I have. I could not even have thought of it. There's no way I could have told you that this was the route I was going to take and this is the outcome because of it. I had no idea, no clue. The one thing I had, though, was an unshakable faith in God. I just kept believing in him. I kept believing that he had something more for me. And then when I touched base with him and asked him to show me what it is, what he had for me, ta-da, the magic show began. Because you know what he did? He took all my natural abilities that he had given to me, this gift that he gave me, that he poured into me at birth, that same gift that he poured into you at birth. The moment you go to him and let him show you that gift, once he takes what he naturally put in you and put his superpowers on top of that, then you have some supernatural things going on in your life. And you may not be feeling me. I'm cool with that. But I done had some supernatural things happen to me. Every day I wake up, the rewards of my life, the awards of my life, the accomplishments, the how I'm working, the how I manage it all that ain't nothing but God. That ain't nothing but God. You can't even explain this schedule to people. Sometimes when people ask me, Steve, how do you do it? I go, well, this is what I manage my time. Then at the end of when I get through, I say, hey, man, you know what I need to tell y'all for real? It's God. I don't really know. But I'm letting him manage me. So He handling it. He ain't gonna put no more on me than I can bear. Listen to me, y'all. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. And remember this, don't get stuck on yourself, because you could be wrong, you know.
Jot these phrases down as I close. Number one, the greatest value in life is not a bank account. The greatest value in life is not a car, a home to live in. The greatest value in life is this. Make a note. Living a good life. In the midst of all of our achieving and recruiting and building and growing, helping other people, being a part of society and the country and the world, being all of this stuff, here's what you must figure out all of your life, how to continually live a good life. So let me give you my short list. I'll cover the long list the next time I speak. Here's the short list on a good life. Number one, productivity. If you don't produce, you won't be happy. Here's number two, good friend. The greatest support system in the world is good friends. You got to work on it. Don't be careless here. Friends are those wonderful people who know all about you and still like you. Here's next, spirituality. I'm not asking you to be a believer. I am a believer that humans are more than an advanced form of the animal. I'm a believer that we're a special creation. I don't ask you to be a believer, but here's what I do ask. If you are a believer, here's what you must do. Study, practice, and teach. Whatever's valuable to you, study, practice, and teach. Repeat it after me now. Again, study, practice, and teach. Here's why. It builds the foundation that builds the country, that builds the nation, that helps us to compete among the nations of the world in the 21st century. This is one of those subjects, to study, practice. Next, my parent talk. Don't miss it. Don't miss the game. Don't miss the performance. Don't miss the show, the movie. Don't miss the word. We're all inspired by the word. Elton John says she lived her life like a candle in the wind, never knowing who to cling to when the rains. You can't miss those lyrics. You can't miss the music. You can't miss the song that nourishes. You can't describe how brief and fragile life is much better than that. George Harrison, one of the Beatles, sings, "If not for you, the winter would hold no spring. Couldn't hear a robin sing. I just wouldn't have a clue if not for you." I've got to remember the words that reflect the experience. Barbra Streisand sings, "It used to be so natural to talk about forever, but used-to-be's don't count anymore. They just lay on the floor until we sweep them away. You don't sing me love songs, you don't say you need me, and you don't bring flowers." Illustrative of all of our experience. Winston Churchill said, "The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it and ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there." You've got to use that. Feast on someone else's time. Because see, you could stay up all night and not think of it. I'm asking you to do your research. I'm asking you, don't miss anything. Don't miss the play. When my father was 93, just before he died, if you would have called him at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, he wouldn't be home. He's at the rodeo, and he's watching the kids play softball. He's at church. He's watching the concert somewhere. Every night, my parents taught me that. Don't miss anything. Even the little small things, don't miss. The big things, don't miss. Don't miss, don't miss. It's part of living a good life. Here's why. Jot this phrase down. It'll serve you well forever. If you live well, you will earn well. If you live well, it'll show up in the texture of your voice. If you live well, it'll show up in your face. If you live well, it'll show up in the magnetism of your personality. If you live well. So don't miss the nourishment of all the things around you that can help you live a good life. Next is the inner circle. Take care of them, they'll take care of you. Inspire them, they will inspire you. Nothing more valuable than the inner circle. That's where the power to conquer the world comes from, the inner circle. If a father walks out of the house and he can still all day long feel his daughter's kiss on his face, he's a powerful man. Nourishment of the inner circle is so incredible. If a husband walks out of the house and all day long he feels the imprint of his wife's arms around his body, he's invincible. Who can touch you? One person caring for another, the old prophet said, is the greatest. There's many virtues and values, but the greatest is love. One person caring for another. Better to live in a tent with someone you love than to live in a mansion itself. People caring for people. And especially that inner circle where the power is so magnificent that if you draw from it, if you nourish it, and then it nourishes you. Now here's my last comment. Ask for God's help. We could all use a little help. But my whole seminar was what you can do. So we do play a part. So make this the last note now. We have a chance as human beings to participate in the miracle process. We have a chance as human beings to participate in the miracle process. And you can go do that every day as often as you wish. Changing somebody's life, rescuing somebody from oblivion, building an organization second to none so that your name will appear in many people's history. And that's why I came today. So that by chance, I don't need the money. Not why I'm here. I take the money, but I don't need it. But here's why I'm here. By chance, perhaps, if I've come along at the right time. I don't know what time this is for you, but if I've come along at the right time, just maybe, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you might say, Jim Rohn came by and gave us a little piece of information. That started me down the road. Here's what's happened to me. And my name might appear. Now here's the drama as we finish. How many of you have my name in your note? Here's the part of the drama then. I go with you. When we all leave here and the lights are out, the place is dark, I go with you because you've taken my notes and hopefully some of the spirit, some of the stuff I had, besides just the notes. So I go with all of you. But here's the big drama. All of you go with me. See, that's so unbelievable. So as I leave here, I promise not to leave you behind. I will take you with me in my thoughts and in my heart.
I'm thinking about a friend of mine who is no longer operating on this dimension. His name This is Jack Boland. He had this vision of a church. That would serve various types of needs for people. There's supportive needs and helping them in recovery from drugs and alcohol and whatever addictions that they might be involved in. And he was known for bringing in different kinds of speakers. And over a year ago, he was diagnosed as having cancer, and he announced to his congregation that he's going to be taking chemotherapy, and that it was a possibility that the cancer would go in remission. And he was optimistic about that. And sure enough, it did for a year. And one of the things Jack always talked about is that he wanted to have his funeral while he lived. And so he invited a few friends, Wayne Dyer and myself and a few other speakers. He didn't tell us why we were there, but once we gathered there, the church, they told us in the room that Jack is going to announce to the congregation, he's bringing his doctor up. The doctor is going to say that we felt we could keep it in remission. It's out of remission, and he doesn't have much time left. And whatever words you want to say to Jack that you would say if he had made his transition, speak those words now. Well, we were shocked and we were somewhat stunned until Jack got there. They brought him in a wheelchair, and boy, was he courageous, and he had a strong smile, and they helped him up the steps, and he sat behind the podium. And each of us got up and we said a few things about Jack and the impact that he made on our lives. And he said, the doctor, after announcing that Jack didn't have long, he says, "Doctor," he said, "I accept what you say, but it's possible that that does not have to be the case. But if it is, I will enjoy life to the very last breath I take, even the chemotherapy. I will enjoy that." And Jack did, ladies and gentlemen. And when they said that all of his vital organs were failing, they called his family and his close church staff to the hospital and said, "He's dying." And so they came and they all gathered in the room. And Jack at that time was unconscious. And he gained consciousness. And he looked at them and he said, well, what strength he had, he said, "I want to thank you all for being here. You've been a great staff to me." He looked at his sons, his daughter, he said, "You've been a great family." He said, "Don't feel sorry for me." He said, I'm ready to go. I'm looking forward to the next adventure." And he sat there for a little while, laid there, and he closed his eyes, and he lost consciousness. About an hour and a half later, he opened his eyes, and he looked at them, and he said, "This is embarrassing. I'm not dead yet." They were laughing through their tears. They said, "Jack, you are a character." He said, "Hey, I hate giving up this kind of control." So they predicted that Jack would die at the end of February. And then on the 2nd, they said, he won't see the light of day. He will be dead by morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack died on March 4th. And we believe that even in his dying, Jack sent his congregation a message. I want to give to you with his permission. March 4th is the day he died, and we believe Jack was saying, March 4th. So I say, as you look into the future, while other people are giving up, feeling like victims, feeling powerless, becoming negative, turning on each other rather than to each other, feeling that they can't make it. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind with the mindset of that it's possible that we can save this generation. It's possible that we can create new industries, a new economy. It's possible that I can find a new profession, a new job. It's possible I can create a new life. And it's necessary that I become actively involved in becoming a positive force in my life and on the planet. And it's me, yes, it's you, it's all of us, pulling together, working together to create this brand new future. And it's going to be hard. Easy is not an option. But if it's hard, we will do it hard. Whatever is required to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. And it's worth it, yes. It's worth whatever we have to do. And once we know that, it is done. It is done. It is done. I say to you, whatever your dreams are, whatever you want to do, in the spirit of Jack, March 4th. This is Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy, Leslie Calvin Brown, saying, it's been a plumb pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege. Thank y'all, dear.